I sat down, I'm just rolling away. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the 8th day of the 25 days of Kitmas. I hope you guys are really enjoying this series so far. I'm having such a fun time honestly making these for you guys. I know it's a little bit different than my normal videos because they're a little bit shorter, but I need to do shorter videos in order to pump out more content for you guys. I've covered literally all the big items in my makeup kit so far, and then now I'm onto the powders that I keep inside of my makeup kit. This is a great way for you guys to actually know the current products that I have inside of my makeup kit. I did put them all into one playlist titled it Kitmas 2022, so definitely go ahead and check out the playlist. As far as my face powders go, I only carry 2 different types in my kit. I carry a loose version and also a pressed. All of my powders I either have repressed if they're pressed powders, or I have condensed into smaller containers if they are loose. Just because powders, especially with their bulky containers, just take up a lot of room inside of your kit. So let me go ahead and go on to the pressed ones first, because those are the ones that I probably use the least often. There's a lot of people that have pressed powders just because pressed powders are more makeup artist friendly, they're less messy, easier to use. Totally understand that. However, as a bridal makeup artist myself, I need brides makeup to be locked in for 10+ hours for the day, and I don't thoroughly feel like pressed powders are necessarily the end-all be-all situation. I don't think they have the longevity for those really long wedding days. That's why I don't prefer to use pressed powders. These are the Ket Cosmetics pressed powders, and they usually come in huge foundation palettes. Let me go show those to you guys. So I basically have all of these foundation palettes. As you can see, these pans are huge. I have 2 foundation palettes inside of one, just to let you know, so not all of these colors come inside of just one palette. But as you can see, the pan size is honestly pretty big. It's pretty much almost the size of the palm of my hand. So it's such a nuisance when you're literally trying to carry around all of these pans and also want to be like travel friendly. That's why I did take the liberty of scraping them out of the pans and then using an arbor press to repress them into the palette that I have now. And I'll go ahead and insert a segment here showing you guys kind of how I repress them. I included it in one of my vlogs because there's one point in time where I literally dropped my entire makeup kit on the floor and had to repress all my shadows and all my powders. It was a nightmare. Like, luckily I had that repressing machine, otherwise I would have literally had to buy all new products that day. I'm gonna go ahead and insert that now for you guys because I know I'm gonna have questions about it. Literally all of my makeup just fell out of my kit and it fell on the floor, and there's a lot of eyeshadows that shattered completely. Look at this mess. So I have this arbor press right here. This comes from the brand Panavise off of Amazon. This was totally supposed to be a 1-ton arbor press, but you do need a 1-ton one, so I'm gonna go ahead and link that one down below. These are the Artist Kit Company palettes, and then the pans that I'm going to be using are also from the Artist Kit Company. They are these right here. Yeah, these are sold on the Artist Kit Company's website, and they specifically fit in these palettes right here. These are the palette 2.0s. Then I also have the Artist Kit Company molds. So you can do the square ones, which I have, and then I also have the little ones and then the rectangle ones. And then these are all the little blocks that fit in the molds. And I also go ahead and cut up little sheets of paper like this, and you guys will see what I'm gonna use those for. And you also will need like clear little plastic paper like this. Go ahead and take my sheet of paper and I'm just gonna fold it in half lengthwise because it's almost gonna act as a funnel. And you can use a Ziploc bag for this too, but I prefer to use it this way. What you're gonna do is take all this out of here. And the whole objective of this is to try to get it as finely milled as possible. Like, you don't want any chunks or anything, but you see how all this is kind of like heavy chunks? You're gonna wanna chop those up. I'm gonna take the spatula here and just basically like mush it down like this. I know a bunch of you guys are nervous about repressing things into pans because obviously you have to destroy the original product. I promise you it actually is really worth it. Now that everything is pretty finely milled, I'm gonna set this aside, and then we're only going to use this larger one obviously because it's a square. So I'm gonna use this guy right here. I'm gonna set it down into there. Take this, use my palm, and then I'm gonna press all the way down. So then now it's sitting at the bottom right here. Then all you're gonna do is take your powder and then I'm gonna put it right in here. I usually take my spatula and I kind of put it to all 4 corners just to make sure it's evenly dispersed. And then I just tap it on the counter a little bit. This is where the clear wrapping comes into play. I usually like to cut out little squares or rectangles or whatever it is. Go ahead and set it on top of here. And then I'm gonna take the top of the mold again, put it right on top. Then I'm gonna go with the arbor press. I like to put a hard surface underneath here because otherwise when you press down with this, it dents the pan underneath. Put this right under. As you can see, you can kind of like rotate the handle of it. And I'm just gonna push. All you do is just push down with your thumbs, and you want to push the pan all the way through it. So it comes out of the bottom. You want to give it a few taps. And as long as nothing comes out or looks like it's going to crack or anything, then you did a really good job at repressing it. So as you can see, that was my process while trying to repress things. It's honestly pretty simple, but it does take a lot of practice and it is very time consuming. Basically, I went from all of these pans to these. Like, look at the size difference between the two of them. And this is all I carry around now, so that's awesome. This is an Artist Kit Company palette. I've mentioned this before in my other videos. This is the palette 2.0. I think all of these on this side are the light to medium ones, and then these are the dark to deep ones. They are pretty durable, and if you press them hard enough, then they shouldn't break on you at all. I haven't had an issue so far, and I've been carting around this thing for a while now. Now onto the actual formulation of these. I really personally like these Ket Cosmetics powders just because they don't have like a full opacity to them. They definitely do have some coloration to them. Like, they are technically a foundation powder, but I wouldn't say they're as full coverage as like the MAC Studio Fix powders. If you guys have ever worked with those before, this is that foundation swatch right here. Like, you definitely can see it, so it will add a color. I've also used these deeper colors inside of here for bronzer colors, and that works really, really well. Like, look at how dark that is. Like, that's actually a pretty deep color. I would say if you're, you know, familiar with matte colors, it's probably like an NC60. They do come in individual pans because they're meant to like refill the palette when you get it. So the individual refills are $15 a piece. Then those foundation palettes, and you guys are probably gonna die because it's gonna seem really expensive, I'm not gonna lie. They're $140 a piece. So there is the light to medium one and then tan to deep one. It's, to be totally honest, like $140 for such large pans like that you guys are literally not going to empty or hit pan in such a long time. Seems like a pretty fair amount. Now moving on to the loose powders that I have in my kit. These are the ones that I use the most often. As I mentioned, I do bridal mostly, and I need bride's makeup to be locked in for the entirety of their wedding day. I do not want anything coming off or fading or anything. Pressed powders just don't lock things in the way that loose powders do. But I feel like a lot of people either don't want to deal with loose powders because they're a lot messier, or they just don't want to deal with loose powders because they feel like they're too heavy on somebody's face and they might get cakey. But it kind of just depends on the way that you apply them. So I'll show you guys the powders first, and then I'll show you guys how I actually apply them. I use the Huda Beauty loose powders. These are the Easy Bake loose baking and setting powders. Seriously love these. I've had them for such a long time, guys. Like, I've just refilled them and refilled them and refilled them. They normally come with these little protectors on here, and then if you open it up, I cut the sifters out of them because I don't like use them in the packaging, of course. They're just usually mesh sifters that come right over top of there. So the reason that I really love them is because they lock in makeup flawlessly throughout the day. Like, I have not had a single complaint from any one of my brides that makeup has not lasted on them throughout the day. And in fact, I literally have had brides that are like, I took a 3 a.m. flight to go to my honeymoon destination, and when I arrived to my honeymoon destination, it was still on. And that's really saying something, especially when like I put makeup on at sometimes like 7 a.m. It's kind of ridiculous. Also, they have a flawless finish. This is the only powder that I've literally used on my clients that does not look cakey. It does not look heavy. It lays really well even on mature skin. Like, it doesn't sink into wrinkles. In fact, it actually blurs everything out, which I cannot figure out. But I think it's also because of the way I apply it. For this powder, I do carry 3 different colors of it. I carry the shade Sugar Cookie, which is this one. It's just a white shade. Now, I will let you know that none of these are translucent. Like, they will be the color of these actual powders that you see inside of here. And the next one that I use so often that I don't even have a backup for it, I have it in the shade Pound Cake. So this is what it looks like. It's kind of like a light sandy kind of color. And then the last color I have in this line is the color Blondie, and it looks like this. It's just a deeper, like, I guess golden yellow kind of color. And then these are all of the colors together. These powder jars are from Amazon. They're actually sifters for like either powder or glitters or something like that. I used to use those spray powder containers, and they just ended up getting clogged up after a while, and so I had to switch my method. So I'll go ahead and pause this for you guys if you guys want to take a screenshot of these. As I mentioned, it's called the Huda Beauty Loose Baking Powder, and they retail for $35, and that is the full-size ones. And then if you guys wanted to try them and just get the mini-size versions, they do have these cute little mini sizes for like $20. Oh, and then the other thing I wanted to tell you guys really quickly about the Huda Beauty ones, because I know that it's probably going to come up. So the Huda Beauty ones, unfortunately, do have a little bit of a fragrance to them. They're almost like a florally, like perfumey kind of fragrance. It's just kind of frustrating because like there's so many people that have like fragrance allergies and are sensitive to fragrances that I really wish that brands would just stop putting artificial fragrances like inside of product. But on that same note though, I have not had anybody who's actually been irritated like by that fragrance. And I ask every single person every single time that I do a makeup application if they are sensitive or allergic to anything. Just keep that in mind in case you guys are a little bit skeptical about buying things with fragrances. It does have a slight fragrance to it. Then the last powder that I wanted to talk about really quickly, this is in another one of those sifter jars, and it's just a little bit deeper and I guess a little bit more golden based than the Huda Beauty Blondie that I showed you guys. And this is in the shade Gobi from Juvia's Place. And I really like how that one performs. So I might possibly switch to that one. I'm just not really sure. They also would be a little bit more cost efficient too because they are a little bit cheaper. It's just really hard to find powders for deeper complexions because all of them are either too ashy or too red. Juvia's Place is a black owned brand, so I really feel like they do deep skin products the best. So this is called I Am Magic Loose Setting Powder, and it looks like they do have 3 different shades and they only retail for $14. So I feel like that's a really good option. So if you guys are looking for a really good loose powder, then I would definitely go ahead and look at the Juvia's Place one. Okay, now I'm gonna go on to how I actually set my face or set my client's face with powder. I usually go in with disposable sponges because as we all know as makeup artists, we cannot reuse sponges on people. So if you guys get those like beauty blender sponges and think you're doing it justice by like rewashing or like putting them in hot water or using dish soap and everything like that, it's not gonna get them clean. So you definitely want to either one, gift the person that sponge after you use it on somebody, or you can use disposables, which I do because I feel like they're more cost efficient. However, I hate those traditional wedge sponges that you get in those blocks and you have to like tear them off because they're so flimsy. They don't hold any product. And I just feel like you're literally blending a sheet of paper into somebody's face. Because of that though, I've really loved Jumbo Cosmetic wedge sponges, like the huge ones. And I've only found my ideal sponge at CVS. I have previously known them as Beauty 360. They switched to the One and Other brand, but I think this might be replacing the Beauty 360, but they are latex free and they actually are infused with hyaluronic acid too. The hyaluronic acid just makes them a little bit softer, so it almost kind of feels like a normal beauty blender. So they look like this. They're just very like sturdy sponges. Like I'm easily squishing this with my fingers. It's not super like rough or anything or super hard. I also get a ton of questions over whether I use these wet or dry because people have seen me like of course do my vlogs and do applications on people, and I do wet these every single time. So I actually carry a bottle of water. This is an Artist Kit Company spray bottle. I always have a spray bottle on hand because you never know if you're gonna go into a situation where you don't have running water. So I'll go ahead and actually wet this enough to fully drench it. So I'll go like this and kind of like bring it out, kind of like you normally would with a sink. And then once it starts kind of like dripping water a little bit, then I'll go ahead and call it done. And as you guys can see, like look at how freaking squishy this thing is. Not as flimsy, I promise you. Like it does have some sort of density on it. So I'm gonna use the shade Blondie. And then I'm just gonna put it like right here on the back of my hand. So I'm just gonna tap it out with my finger, just tapping in. I don't have that much on this sponge, as you guys can see. I'm just taking this powder and then just pressing it all the way into my skin and just blending it out until I can't see it any longer. So that's how I make the Huda Beauty powders not look so heavy. Like I don't bake them or let them sit there. I'll literally just keep blending them. That is pretty much it for this video. Again, if you guys have any questions, leave those down below. And then also go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you did like the video and do like the series so far. Subscribe to my channel if you guys have not already. And don't forget to turn on your post notifications so you can get notified of whenever I post for the day. And as always, I hope you guys are having an absolutely amazing day, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. All right, bye.